Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Netrix Global webinar. In the next half hour, we're going to talk about one of our key offerings, our data platform Jumpstart, a first step with Microsoft Fabric. My name is Sean McManus, and I'm our field CTO for data and AI. And I spend a lot of time talking with clients about how to improve their data state and get the data analytics and AI needs they want out of their data. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. We're going to talk about the specifics of our offerings and then go into some additional details around what a typical proposal would look like and some additional companion offerings that we offer in this space too, if you're not ready to take the full plunge into the deep end. First of all, I'm going to start off talking a little bit more about Netrix as a company. We are an engineering-led consultancy and managed service provider, and we service a lot of different business functions, which I'll talk about on the next slide. We were founded in 1989, have over 2,000 clients worldwide, and our key indicator here is that of our 875 employees, 85% of them have some level of technical expertise. So we are made up of a large set of team members that have deep knowledge in our various service areas. So speaking of those particular service areas, cybersecurity, digital workplace, cloud infrastructure, that can be Microsoft, AWS, Google, data and AI. That's what we're going to focus on today. Application development, application modernization, IT service management, and then just generally IT strategy. And so across those 7 pillars of services, we engage with our clients in that advise, deploy, run approach. And by that, we are able to provide, really services from the very beginning to the very end of a life cycle for our clients. And so in the advise phase, we'll do things like springboarding and road mapping and strategy discussions before moving into the implementation and deployment of various services and projects. And then on the run side, for clients that are looking for more help on the managed services, we can help run and support your systems and businesses long-term as well. So that's just a little bit about Netrix as a company. We'll talk a little bit more about contact information at the end if you want to contact us for any of these specific areas. But we're going to focus today on data and our Fabric Jumpstart. So let's start now talking a little bit more about the data challenge and what we see as key drivers of companies that are coming to us looking for solutions in this space. Primarily, these 4 areas are what we're seeing right now as some of those key drivers. So analytics enablement, that's essentially a set of clients that are coming to us and they don't maybe have current sets of reporting. They're not leveraging Power BI or any other reporting platform right now. And they understand the need to be able to get better information about how they're running their business in order to make better day-to-day decisions. And so that's one of those key drivers, sort of that let's get started with putting together a formal set of analytics. The next use case that we see very commonly is automation. So in this particular scenario, companies are doing some level of reporting. Maybe they even have Power BI reports and dashboards up and going that are being used, but the manner of collecting that data and feeding it into those dashboards is not automated. It's a manual process. So that often involves Excel, that often involves spreadsheets, or other means of manually compiling and getting information and data into that format that can service their reports. So that's another area where we see the data platform Jumpstart as being something that can help, is in that automation space. The third pillar there is that data aggregation. So this is a very common scenario amongst companies that have data in multiple sources. They maybe have some on-prem databases that are running some of their core systems. They may have some cloud service providers out there that are leveraging for their data, and somehow they want to be able to come up with that comprehensive and holistic data warehouse that they can use for their reporting. So that's another common driver. And then right now, what we're seeing and discussing in almost every one of these engagements here is AI interactivity. So that is that initially that need of being able to leverage large language models to be able to interact and ask questions of their data. So a couple years ago, that was sort of this pie in the sky dream that we all had for being able to put together data platforms. But that's reality right now, and that's the common, and that's really the baseline here is I want to be able to leverage Copilot inside of my Power BI reports, and I want it to be able to answer the questions that I need. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means in terms of a data platform jumpstart, even beyond just Copilot. So what we see with some of these projects and people in particular with AI and AI projects that are failing is it's not because the models don't support what you want to do. It's because you haven't instituted the right type of planning in those projects. So what we like to do is establish a set of foundations first and foremost so that we understand and we can plan and set that baseline for future development. So on the objective side, let's make sure we understand what it is we're trying to accomplish here. Are the goals around analytics? So reports, dashboards, visuals. What do we need to do there to make that a success? Data sources. We talked about on the last slide, disparate data sources. What are those data sources that we need to include? What are some things that we need to do now to have a quick win? And then maybe some additional data sources that need to be added in later. The third thing there is standardization. You are getting data from multiple data sources. They may not be speaking the same language. They may not have calculations and data on the same grain. And so we need to make sure we understand what needs to be done from a transformation perspective in order to be able to aggregate those data sources and provide a common model for reporting. And then finally here, integration requirements, like what is in scope? Need to understand what we're particularly looking at here. A lot of companies that have these types of external data sources and internal data sources, their initial sense is like, I just want to bring all of this into a data warehouse. We don't need to do all of that. You don't need to report on every little thing that is being captured in all of those systems. So some of that is around an analysis of understanding what actually is in scope here. What tables do I need to bring? Let's be smart about this. Let's not just bring everything in. Let's understand exactly what we're going to need to support our analytics and our downstream requirements. And then that comes into AI and LLM needs. What are we doing around AI? What are the questions we want to ask? What are our persona? Who are the personas that are going to be consuming this data, and where do they want to be consuming it? Things like that. We need to understand all of those objectives ahead of time in order to put together the right plan of attack, so to speak. So when we do that, we are essentially establishing all of those foundations for these types of projects. So we're going to set up that integrated data platform on Microsoft Fabric. We're going to set up external source connectivity. We're going to look at setting up that medallion architecture, that raw layer for initial data, raw or bronze layer, and then those increasing layers of data quality, silver and gold for your semantic modeling. We're also going to talk about licensing, what those impacts are, and of course governance too, because you can't set up these types of projects here without having an eye towards governance and security and permissioning. So now let's talk about our Fabric Data Platform Jumpstart. We do consider this one of our flagship data offerings here at Netrix. And this is really meant to describe that we will approach these projects with Netrix Agile Project Management. We have a full set of experienced data engineering professionals. We've been doing Microsoft Fabric implementations since before it was generally available. So we've been in on the ground floor here. We approach these projects using a crawl, walk, run methodology. So you'll see as we get down later into showing some of the sample proposals, we do approach these in phases, and we take these phases in kind of a very small and measured approach. And we're going to customize deliverables, and that comes to the column here on the left-hand side. Those are some of the specific areas that we focus on when we're putting together one of these data platform jumpstarts. So almost all of them start with this Fabric Foundations piece. Now, occasionally we have clients that come to us and they've already started down that road. They already have a Microsoft Fabric implementation. So in that case, maybe we're not doing a full Fabric foundational installation, but we're going to do some review of permissioning and governance on that side. So that's, that's also very common. And then these other areas here, we do data ingestion, data transformation, data aggregation. So that's essentially that whole ETL process, bringing your data from its raw layers and raw sources into an aggregated model that we can use for reporting. Real-time data processing is another one that we've got experience working on, and some clients are utilizing that to be able to get real-time information on some of their core systems. Most of the time, we're going to be leveraging a medallion architecture. Again, these are kind of customized. So sometimes we get in with clients and they already have a lot of that infrastructure set up. We just need to plug into that and start going from, from a little bit of a higher level around that. Data governance, that's another piece that we include in just about every one of our engagements. We need to make sure that we're understanding what we're doing in terms of permissions on this data, security, and then how it's going to be governed long term. And then coming down here into these next set of features here, this is all about data consumption. So on the Power BI side, what do we want to do with reports? Sometimes clients are bringing reports to us and we need to have them plugged into a new model that is automated. Other times they're looking for us for assistance in being able to write those reports. Copilot integration is the big one right now. So we're seeing a lot of people that are interested in being able to interact with their reports using Copilot. So we definitely include that in most of our projects. And the next couple pieces here on ontologies and data agents, those are fairly new. Microsoft Fabric has introduced ontologies. It's still in preview. It should be going GA sometime later this summer. Data agents is a relatively new piece too within the last 6 months or so. And so what really we do with these types of engagements is extend the capabilities of Copilot and AI inside your reporting beyond just the universe or just the context of that one semantic model or that one report. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as well. And now next things, Fabric apps. That's a new one that was just announced here recently at Microsoft Build Conference. And so those are something that we're going to be adding into our portfolio in the coming months here. And that's the ability to create applications directly in Fabric against your data. So lots of great possibilities there. And then finally, for every one of these engagements, we are going to talk about Fabric cost estimates and future planning. So this is all forward thinking, phase 2, phase 3 sorts of objectives. But the idea is that we want you to have an understanding of what you can expect for your Fabric costs going forward. Do we expect that your Fabric capacity needs are going to need to scale up, or do we think we're at a steady state right now? Are reservations going to be something that you're going to want to consider? So those are things we'll evaluate too. And then future planning and roadmap. So most of our customers that are coming to us, they do not have that full roadmap planned out. They know where they want to get started, and we can help them figure out how to get there. So where do you want to go beyond this initial engagement? So our process, we set up introductory calls. Typically, that is where this starts. We'll talk. I'll get on a call and talk with clients, and we'll talk through exactly what they are interested in doing, what their current pain points are, what their needs are, their data needs, requirements, things like that. If necessary, sometimes we have a secondary call. We'll do a technical deep dive, and that'll help us get more information so that we can get to stage 3, which is presenting a formal proposal. And that formal proposal can take on multiple formats, but we'll often iterate around that. Maybe that first proposal isn't perfect, and the client requests a few changes, so we'll make some changes to that. We'll get everything set up. We'll start the project, execute project delivery, and then we can do post-project support as well. So oftentimes on that project support, we'll see clients that are looking to us for, for some number of hours of monthly support going beyond that. And so we can certainly accommodate clients with that type of support model going forward. So let's talk through what a sample proposal might look like. In this particular proposal here, we've got a 3-phased approach, our crawl, walk, run, and we're going to start off with our phase 1 of platform foundation and readiness. So we're going to set up Microsoft Fabric. We're going to set up OneLake, medallion architecture, and we're going to start ingesting some data from in this case, Aderant, Sierra, and IntelliSat. These are 2 common services that are used in the legal industry. And so we're going to start by making those connections and bringing in data from those particular sources, verifying that we can do that we have those connections, and that data can come in and start flowing. Then phase 2 for this one, we're going to do an analytics enablement. So that's essentially being able to deliver those production-ready analytics. We're going to build out those pipelines. We're going to set up the data models, and we're going to set up the dashboards for them. And then on phase 3 here for this one, we're going to expand by looking at Fabric data agents and how we can use those data agents to surface additional insights and be able to accelerate value on their platform. So what we do here in this particular case, our proposal, this is the overview slide. Then we go into a deeper dive slide where I break down what we're going to do for each one of these phases. So Microsoft Fabric Foundations piece, we're going to set up the Fabric capacity. We're going to set up our determine the workspace strategy, Lakehouse and medallion architecture. We're going to put in identity, security, and governance framework. We'll be leveraging Key Vault. This particular solution is going to involve APIs going out to cloud services. So we're going to want to store those keys and API keys securely somewhere. And then we're also going to set up source control and deployment pipelines. These are things that we don't always think about when we're trying to set up something like this, but we find that it's important to get those source control and deployment pipelines set up foundationally. It makes it easier to scale long term. So here, step 2 here under phase 1 is that data source enablement. We're going to make the connectivity to in this case, Aderant, Sierra, and IntelliSat. We're going to bring in that data with some sample ingestion pipelines. In this case, the client has some additional data that they want to bring in from Excel. So we're going to do that as well and bring in that Excel data. And we're going to start doing some mapping and understanding exactly what we need to do to be able to get data from those raw sources and be able to design out the silver and gold layers. So our deliverables from phase 1 here going to be that set of requirements and that transformational design from bronze to gold. And then we're going to put together that final phase 2 proposal and cost estimates. So the reason why we set up our projects this way in large part is because there are so many unknowns as we start getting into these. Each of these data sources has their own nuances. And so in order to expedite time to value, we set up this initial phase to do some of that gathering, set up some of those foundational efforts. And what that allows us to do is to be able to have greater cost certainty for the follow-up phases. So as we move into phase two, now we know what those exact deliverables are going to be. But at a broad sense, when we're coming into this, we're going to tackle this from a data engineering perspective here, building out that that ETL layer, those silver and gold transformations, full orchestration, full monitoring and logging. In this case, the client has asked for some build with sessions, so we can do that as well. The idea being that if you have a knowledgeable internal staff that just maybe doesn't know specifics about Fabric or about PySpark notebooks, we can help get you up to speed in that way, so that long term you're going to be able to support this internally. Then we'll move into the modeling and reporting, building out the models, building out the reports to support whatever their MVP requirements are. We can do performance and tuning and validation on that, making sure the model is optimized. And then we'll provide some additional sessions here, in this case, on how we can leverage Copilot inside of Power BI. So for this particular client, future looking, they're looking to be able to enable some actual, budget forecast analysis going forward. They want to do more knowledge transfer. They want to look into purview and how that can be applied. And they want to be able to do some more discovery on how they can leverage data agents. And so take a step back here and talk a little bit more about data agents. For those who aren't quite sure what that term means, in the context of using Copilot inside of Power BI, your Copilot experience has the context of that semantic model and that report only. And so by leveraging data agents, we are able to aggregate multiple semantic models, additional data sources, and business context, which is that term ontology that you saw me refer to in the previous slide. Ontology is really a mapping that seeks to explain how your business works through all of the data objects that you have in your specific semantic models. And so by combining all of those things together, we can put together a data agent that is far more powerful and can reach in and answer questions and be able to come up with analytics that are beyond the scope of just a narrow report or narrow semantic model. So in this particular case here, we're going to do a use case discovery here in phase two and understand, where we might be able to apply agentic AI on those types of data agents and those types of solutions. And we'll put together that roadmap for what that looks like going forward. And so for this particular client, beyond phase two, usually what we start to get once we get into phase three, we're maybe looking at less definition, at this proposal stage. So we include in here, the things that we think are going to be included in a phase three, but we tend to develop those as we go along. So in this particular case, when we're in phase two, that's when we're going to start looking at what does a phase three look like. And so we have some samples of where we think that's going. We fine tune that, we refine that as we go along, and we'll end up with a phase three that is fully defined and fully baked out. In this particular case, the customer is also looking for support options. And so this is just a typical support retainer that we put together for them, 10 hours a month for 3 months, but we can customize those length and the number of hours. And this just gives those clients that support and that confidence that, hey, once we start going into production here, we've got some level of recourse. We can lean on Netrix here to help us and make sure that everything is working as expected. And if they have any questions or any tweaks that need to be made, and if they can leverage us during that support option for being able to do that. So again, here we will deliver a very tight phase one estimate with the ranges for phases two and beyond. Our engagements typically start around 30,000 for a 4-ish week phase one project. Again, that's variable. It depends on the specifics of your engagement and what your needs are. But we'll walk through that. We'll give you that very tight phase one estimate. Phase two and three will have ranges at this proposal stage, so you have an idea of where you're going with that, and then we tighten up on those during the subsequent phases. So our projects can scale up depending on the delivery and project content. So, when I say our engagements typically start at 30, we do some that start at a higher price point than that if the client is coming in with a larger set of deliverables that they want to achieve right away. So it's really customizable and flexible enough to be able to suit our clients' needs. And the final thing I'd like to mention here is we do all of these on time and materials pricing. We find that gives our clients the greatest value. We're not going to do these types of projects and price them out in a way that we are continually coming back to you for more. So when we spec out a phase one at let's say 30,000 or 40,000, you can feel pretty comfortable that unless something dramatically changes in the scope, and that's usually something that the clients bring to us, we are not going to be coming back for a change order on that phase. So we find that time and materials pricing is very comfortable. It's as close as we can to being able to provide you the flexibility that we could certainly come in under that if things all roll right and everything goes down the happy path. And that does happen sometimes. So when that does happen, everybody's happy, the client wins, and we're happy that they're happy. So if you're not ready to do that full data platform jumpstart, you don't exactly know where you want to go, we do have some companion offerings that we can start out at that can lead you down the road to that type of project. And so we can do a data readiness assessment. And that's essentially, hey, I don't really know where to start. I know my data needs are not being met, but I don't really know where we need to go. We do that at no cost. We have an assessment. Account executive will get on with you and run through our models and ask a series of questions, and then come back. We'll compile all of those results and come back with a presentation that shows you where we think you can achieve some quick wins and where your needs are most lacking. So that's something that we can do. We can also do something like a Fabric proof of value. So that is for clients that say, hey, I'm interested in Fabric, but I need to make sure that there's value in my investment. And so we can do a discovery assessment around that and be able to put some numbers on that and be able to give you that confidence that when you go down that next step, you're going to be getting something of value coming back out of that. And then the third one is a Fabric assessment. So that is for clients that, hey, I've started down the Fabric road, but I'm not sure I'm doing everything right. I don't know if I have everything set up right. I don't know if my governance is right. I need some help with roadmap. So we can come in and do those types of projects as well, where we provide more of that strategic analysis and recommendations. So those are all three areas in which we can support at various capacities beyond and potentially leading to a Fabric data platform jumpstart. So hopefully one of those is something that looks attractive to you. Certainly, if any of these things that we talked about today are of interest, you can get in touch with us. If you have a current account executive or account, please contact them. They can put you in touch with me. If you don't, contact us through the info@netrixglobal.com email address, and we can get you set up with an account executive and start the process of working towards your data needs and data goals. So thank you everybody for taking the time today to listen. Hopefully we'll be talking to you all soon down the road. Thanks.